All right, so now we are officially recording, and we're going to jump into this. This is it, guys. This is it. This is Hard Parking, brought to you by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Jhae, and I'm recording from my home-built studio, literally in my house, like quite literally in my house here in Gilbert, Arizona. It is a holiday season, so let's just get that out of the way right now. Happy holidays to everyone who celebrates the holidays, regardless of your religion. It's a great time of year. Hell, this is the week of Christmas. It's not even just an American thing. It's kind of a global thing, which is great. Let's talk about my Christmas list a little bit. I should have asked for a sewing machine. It's funny, but like I have a hoodie that I wear, a VF1S NSX hoodie, which was the old school. So if you've been following me for a while, that's the old car, kind of the one right behind me on the wall. But I made a hoodie with the cartoon drawing. I paid for the drawing, commissioned someone. It's very similar to the logo for Hard Parking. Same artist. And it's ripping. You know how we always make fun of women for always wearing their yoga pants all the time? If you've been around me long enough, you would notice that I am always wearing Adidas, those Adidas warm-up pants that are kind of tight. And now they're starting to make them a little short, which I don't like, where I kind of want them to touch the top of my shoe. I don't want them to hover around my ankles. That looks just weird to me. But anyway, I was sitting here the other day and I'm like, okay. And I realized I have a vagina-sized slit in the crotch of one of them that I wear all the time. I know I noticed that before, and I thought I threw it in like the donation pile. Yes, I was going to donate it. But it's something I could quite simply fix with a sewing machine. I also wear these jogger, or rather kind of like these hiking parachute-esque pants. I have 3 pair. I have a gray pair, a black pair, and a tan pair. And so 99% of the time when you see me, I'm wearing those or Adidas joggers. In the pocket of one of those, it's coming apart. The gray ones. No, the gray ones have a stain on them. The khaki color ones, the tan ones. So now I have to shift everything to my other pocket because I don't want my keys to fall out. I don't want my wallet to drop. The hole itself is not big enough for my phone to fall out. But I just started thinking, man, I got hoodies that are coming apart. I got pants that are coming apart. Actually, those Adidas joggers, those are one of like 3 that I have that I found weird holes and weird seams. So maybe I should get a sewing machine. Kind of silly, right? Oh, before we go any further, let me go ahead and do this. I want to kind of give you guys the old school. This is a raw old school, probably the last episode of the year. I want to take this time to just kind of reset a little bit. That doesn't mean anything major for the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll notice that my opening video is a little dated in resolution and content. I don't really talk about car parts nearly as much anymore. I don't talk about electronics at all. I don't really do car reviews anymore. I always plan to get back to that space. I just never did. And so I've been living with the 720p opening in a 4K world. And so I'm going to rework that. I want to rework the office around me. You know, it's time to feature some of my guests behind me when I have books from guests or autographed pictures from guests and just kind of cool things, you know, kind of change up the background just a little bit. The good thing is all my major sponsors and supporters are still here and have signed on for 2026. So with that being said, we're going to go old school here. Quick story, a listener lost a big job, missed the call, never saw the DM. It happens and it's fixable. Running a business shouldn't mean juggling a dozen apps and missing opportunities. SparkForge helps you reply faster, capture more leads, and get more reviews, all without adding hours to your day. One simple place to handle calls, texts, and social messages so you can focus on the work that pays. It's like finally putting your business on cruise control without losing the steering wheel. One login, one platform, all under your control. Consolidate your tech in one place and save time, money, and headache. I don't know if this is the same one. Oh, sorry. Jump into a 30-day trial using code HARDPARKED at getsparkforge.ai and stop letting yesterday's tech eat tomorrow's profits. decided to sit here and pour myself a drink. I have some Blanton's Gold that I'll be sipping on throughout the course of this episode, last real episode of the year. That's good. Before we get to some car news, kind of want to let you know, it's been a while since I've kind of talked about stuff going on in my personal life as it relates to my house. A little over 2 years ago, we paid a lot of money to get the backyard redone. Those of you who follow me on social media or that know me personally that have been here have seen the dramatic transformation of our backyard. We have marble tile, and we've had to get it fixed twice now around the swimming pool. Twice in 2 years. It's 2 year. We have a 2-year warranty that expires in March. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but I tried to reach the owner once, and I couldn't get a hold of him. And I ended up filing a complaint with the state, the Arizona Register of Contractors, which ended up smoking the owner out. And he got a hold of me from a different number. Long story short, we set a date for the state inspector to come out here, and the company had, with the complaints, they were able to come out and try to fix the issue and then try to close and cancel the inspection. I go, no way, we're not going to cancel this inspection. We still want the state inspector to come out. So state inspector comes out, and at this point, I'm kind of armed and done a shit ton of research of how the job should be done, because every time they touch our yard, the warranty extends for 2 years, 2 more years, which is great. The owner of the company said he's trying to sell the company, so it's in their best interest to fix our issues, because you don't want to sell a company with a strike on it against the state. This is why it's important to go with somebody who's bonded and insured when you're getting work done at your house. The shitty thing is most people, myself included, have no idea what's really involved when it comes to remodeling, which is why we pay people to do it. Through some discovery, I found out that with a very high probability, they didn't do it fundamentally correct the first time, which is why we keep having these issues. Sure as shit, state inspector comes out, verifies that they didn't do it right the first time, and so they had to redo the whole thing. Not the entire thing. So what we had is we had a Baja shelf put on our pool, and if you don't know what that is, that's that little very popular thing where you can put chairs on it, pool lawn chairs, and you sit in the water, and the water's usually about 8 inches to like a foot deep, and you can just chill on the Baja shelf. So we had a Baja shelf added to our existing pool. They chiseled away all the old Pebble Tech, sprayed new Pebble Tech, because you have to, because we had a Baja shelf, which is a structural part of the pool. And we got brand new decking. We got all fake turf in the backyard, trees. We have 12 trees back there. We have a raised platform. So we basically did the entire backyard. So what they had to redo was everywhere that they put the marble tile, there's a pad when you first come into the backyard. There's the pool deck area, which extends all the way to basically the back door to the back wall. And then there's another pad on the other side, which is where our barbecue grill is and smoker and things like that. They had to redo both pads. Well, actually, all 3 pads, the raised platform, which is a pad, the entrance pad, and the barbecue pad, and all the decking around the pool. So they had to pick all that up, trench down, put this stuff called aggregate base, which is called AB or ABC, aggregate base compound, and they have to compact that, and then they put the sand on top, and then they put the tile on top of that and set that. So it's kind of shitty. They've been working on it for a little bit. It's a nightmare. It's a little stressful. It's a little stressful because I have to, even after the state has told them to do it correctly, they're still trying to cut corners. So I'm out there, thank God I work from home, but I'm out there every day taking pictures, walking around, using my translator app to talk to some of the people that are working here, because no habla inglés. But there's times where I've had my wife come out there with me and translate, or I've had my mother-in-law, heaven forbid, come out there with me and translate. And it's been kind of a headache. But this time around, I don't trust that it's going to be done 100% right, but I can live with 98% at this point. I've had to go out and buy stuff, and in some cases do it myself. The last time they were here, they installed a drain channel because we were having problems with the water sitting on top of the tile, and the ground was moving and shifting because of that, because they didn't use the proper foundation for the tile. They didn't dig down at all. They just removed the top layer of soil and put some quarter minus, which is some material, and a little bit of sand, and set the tiles or the pavers on it. But they put a drain channel, and I noticed something was up with the drain channel. It's like, you know what? It's working. Right after they installed it, it started raining like hell this year. It's working, but something's not right. It's every morning I look out and the tiles are gray, like dark gray, which means they're damp. And I went out there a few days ago actually and started investigating the channels. And what it is there's 4 segments. There's an end piece, and then what they did is they built like a rock drain pit at the end of it with a little grate. Visually not ideal, but functionally it seemed to work. But what I noticed is in between like the 2 pieces, the four connecting pieces, there was nothing in the middle to connect those pieces. Imagine, those of you with kids, imagine doing the Hot Wheels tracks, or those of you who know the Hot Wheels tracks, the orange Hot Wheel tracks. There's always these little blue connectors that you have to connect one piece of the track to the other. If you just lay them next to each other, the car is going to crash, not really roll properly. These drain channels had no connectors in the middle of them. And there was nothing on the beginning either. It was wide open. So, called around, got the missing parts. Fortunately, got them for free. Once I showed a picture of what I was doing, maybe they just thought I worked for a pool company. And then I spent 2 hours in the backyard fixing it myself. Why did I fix it myself and not have them do it? Because they couldn't do it right the first time, and it's my backyard, and it's such a fundamental thing. There was so much sand in the drain. I had to dig all the sand out. It had a bunch of what's called polymetric sand in there, which kind of gets hard a little bit. You put polymetric sand when you're doing pavers outside. You sprinkle it on your pavers and you sweep it in there and you wet it down, and it kind of gets hard enough just a little bit to hold the pavers in place, but not like cement. You don't want it cement, because with cement, it can't shift. And if it can't shift a little bit, then it's going to crack. The drain channel was just filled with all that shit. So we're going through that right now. We're guessing that they will be done, with this being Christmas week, and next week is obviously New Year's week. I think they'll be done by New Year's. I don't think they'll be done by Christmas, because you really have 3 working days this week. And I mean, those guys are out there busting their ass. They have families. My fear is they're not going to get paid. Honestly, I can't be worried about that, but I am. I wish I just had FU money. I'd buy them a 12-pack of Modelo and slide them a couple hundreds. I just don't trust that their employer is going to pay them. But that's kind of the bullshit I've been going through. Let's get into some car news. If you've heard of dragtimes.com, you may have heard of Brooks Weisblatt. I apologize if I'm saying his last name wrong, but Brooks Weisblatt just drove a stock Corvette ZR1, obviously a C8, ran a 9.2 on street tires with a stock ZR1 Michelin Pilot 4S's. That is insane. No mods. That's fast. He ran a 9.27 at 153 mile an hour. That kind of reminds me that, what with my old NSX and even my new one, we'll just talk about the new one. I can get these pure 900 turbos from Science of Speed. They're expensive. They make your car sound badass. They're bigger turbos. In fact, I have said of my good friend Kyle Nielsen, who has the same car as me, a blue one, that his is the only new NSX that sounds better than my NSX. When I was at Salt Lake City a few months ago for NS Expo, obviously you heard me. I stopped by. I hung out with Kyle, and we went and had a nice dinner, and he drove his car and met me up with my car. And my God, his car sounds nice. I'm getting off course here, but my point is, no matter what you do to your car, there's always somebody out there who's faster. No matter how much you work out, there's always somebody who's stronger. No matter how good looking you think you are, there's always somebody who's better looking than you. With the old NSX, I had significantly modified it. I made it very fast. I could have dumped even more money into it, made it even faster, but why? I was happy with where it was at. Plus, the reality of pulling up to a light with, let's say, a Tesla Model 3 and somebody in the car that couldn't give 2 shits about cars. They don't care about cars. They're just picking up groceries or just doing their thing. At any given time, they can just hit that gas and blow you away no matter what you are driving. For a vast majority of people on the road, well over 99.99% of cars on the road, Tesla's going to blow you out of the water. Your average EV is going to blow you out of the water. And that's when you realize none of this matters. Just build it for you, right? But then you get this car, this Corvette ZR1, brand new Corvette, bone stock, 9.2. You know how much money you'd have to dump into most cars running a 9.2? Even if a car runs a 10, and we're talking quarter miles for you non-core people, even if a car runs like a 10.3 or 10.1 or a 9.9. Just getting it from a 9.9 to a 9.2, you're talking big money, and you're rolling the dice and blowing your engine. You may be able to run once or twice down the drag strip before having to rebuild something. And we got Corvettes that run a 9.2. You know, last week we talked about hypercars. Was it last week, 2 weeks ago? Whenever I had Charles Warden on, what's the difference between a supercar and a hypercar, and an exotic sports car? We never talked about Corvette. I would say that a Corvette, a C8 Corvette, a Z06 or a ZR1, you have to call those exotic sports cars. And they're absolutely supercars because they can run with anyone and in many cases beat most cars out there on the road, stock for stock. There's almost nothing out there that can beat a ZR1. That's a supercar. That's damn near a hypercar, except for it's not $1 million. And I think that's where you might draw the line. Something that's going to cost like $1 million or $2 million. There's like 10 of them in the world, and you have major FU money. Then you can buy hypercars. That's my thought. Slight self-correction. Last week when I was talking about the JAS Motorsports designed by Pfenning Farida NSX, I had mentioned the Singer cars, the Singer Porsches. And, you know, I posted this online and people have talked about it and kind of given their opinions about what the car is worth donating an NSX to. And then you got the guys like, well, they do it with Porsche all the time. They do it with GTRs all the time. It's like, you know how many of those cars there are? You can do that. But what the self-correction part comes with a Singer Porsche. It's going to cost you $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 just to commission one. The market on those is $1 to $2 million. So I said that you can get a Singer Porsche and, you know, they're for a couple $100,000. No. It's going to cost you at least a couple $100,000 to get the build done, probably closer to $500,000. So I was a little off on that. When I got done saying it and listened back to it, I thought to myself, no, there's no way. They've got to be way more expensive than that. And so I looked it up, and I was right. And that is it for the car news. I was a big Tupac guy, and I like watching reaction videos. I have a reaction channel, but not music. I just recently went down a rabbit hole of people reacting to Biggie, Tupac, Bone Thugs, but some of you may have never heard this song, so I encourage you to look it up and maybe listen to it. But Tupac and the Outlaws had a song called Starin at the World Through My Rearview, and that used to be my favorite song. I used to drive around to that song. Like, that song spoke to me. And those were times, we're talking mid-90s, 95, 96, 97. You know, those are rough years for me. And there was a time, it reminded me of a time when I didn't really, believe it or not, I didn't really care if I lived past a certain age. You know, I just didn't. And it's a weird mindset. You know, I've gotten to like debates with my wife about cultural issues and mindsets and how things have to change. You can't expect everybody to change it for you. You have to change it yourself if you're able to. Not sometimes you're not able to. I don't care what you say about it. Sometimes you're just not able to pull yourself from situations. And I was living a life nonviolent, but I flirted with danger all the time. And there was an incident one night when we were hanging out in a very bad part of Dallas. When we had showed up, I had just got my Acura Integra. At the time, I had a 1998, because I had a 98 and a 99, but this was my 1998 Integra GSR. So we rolled to the hood, me and the homies, and we pulled up around this to the corner of this house and rolled down a window. One of my friends put his hand out the window and he was like, "Hey, what's up, mother beep?" And then I noticed, and some of you have heard this story before, but I noticed there were people coming at us from all different angles with guns in their hands. And I said, "Hey, yo, you better say something. I don't think they know who you are." And he's like, hey, it's me. Well, come to find out, earlier that night, someone had driven by and was firing shots at their houses. Now, this is a part of town where the police aren't there. I mean, you do that shit here in Gilbert, and the cops are going to be there for a while, trying to figure out what's going on. Not here. It was just normal stuff. And that night we were hanging out. My car was parked right in front of this house, and we were kind of standing in the front yard smoking what's called wet, which was weed, like laced in embalming fluid and some other stuff. Yeah, it was an interesting time for sure. Makes you a little nervous. Every time a car would roll by, everyone would kind of duck and kind of scatter, and we're just standing there. And I'm like, okay, where am I going to go if whatever happened earlier just happened to happen again? I didn't have a gun. Some of my friends had guns. I didn't have a gun at the time. eventually got one. That's for another story. But I remember thinking, kind of standing back, looking in my car, kind of casing the scene. Like, what am I doing here? If something happens to me, if something happens to any of my friends, if something happens to my car, how am I going to explain this to my dad? How am I going to explain this to my best friend's parents? Because he lived right behind me. And that was the second to the last time I was in that neighborhood. But that was the last time I was there at night. And I think when I listened to some of those Tupac songs, that was a time in my life where things were just so different. Here I am now. I have a 2022 Acura NSX Type S, number 130 of 350 in the world. Have a nice house, have a good job. Been married for 21 years. Wife has a great job. I got grandkids. Things are different. And I listen to those songs, and they just immediately teleport you back to a time. But Staring at the World Through My Rearview was one of my frustrating songs that you would just drive around at night by yourself in your Acura or whatever you're in and just blast the radio. Dallas was good for that. Dallas was good for getting in your car and going for drives. I don't do that here, but my mindset's not the same. I don't have those times where I just have to get in my car and go for a drive. Hell, probably why I have this podcast. I just come up here in the studio if I have to blow off some steam, or I have friend circles now. I can call up people and just bitch to them about certain things. But my mindset is different, And God, it's funny because Beastie Boys' Sabotage was one of those songs. You get in your car and just blare it and you drive. Crockett's theme, Miami Vice, Crockett's theme. If you don't know that song, go ahead and pull up Crockett's theme. Miami Vice, Crockett's theme. That song to me is kind of like Staring at the World Through My Rearview. It's a song that you just listen to when you're just going through some shit. And you just need to think. Go stand on a hillside, overlook the city at night, and think to this one of those songs. That's the shit. But I guess where I'm going with all that is things change. And this year's 2025, I challenged myself. I challenged this podcast. Like, what can I do to try to get this podcast to the next level? The goal, if I wanted to go out and chase big names, I think that's probably the goal of going viral, getting somebody on your podcast and get the next famous person, and then go viral, have someone say something stupid or say something stupid yourself. That's not me. And my responsibility is keeping this podcast going and giving peers and other people a stage to tell their story. Like Tyler Patterson. I just went to Tyler Patterson's meet this weekend. It's called Proper, like the Proper Car Meet, TXP Media. You guys, Tyler Patterson was sitting right there in front of me a couple months ago. Didn't really know him. He wanted to come on the show. Didn't know what to expect. One of my favorite conversations on this show all year. It's the Tyler Pattersons of the world that I, embrace having this podcast. But one of the challenges also was it's time to get on video. If you guys recall that I wasn't always on video, only on rare occasions. This year I'm on video all the time. Every week I challenge to do a video podcast, and it's easy to do here in the studio in my house. The challenge is when I go other places, and I've had issues this year. I've had growing points. I've had times where I've had to adjust. There's times where I've gone somewhere and I forgot a piece of equipment, and I just, with Young Motor Cars and Matt O'Connor, the camera kept focusing in and out. It was overexposed. I eventually went out and got a PL filter that I ended up using at the next time that I went out. But I didn't have my mic stands with Matt O'Connor, so we had to hold these microphones. These aren't the type of microphones you sit there and you're holding your hand. These are not designed to do that. But that's what we did. And I hated it. Every second of it. But the podcast itself was great. I just hated that. And most people would have no idea. And I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist, but I know how it should be. And the fact that it wasn't drove me to make adjustments. Now I do equipment checks before I leave. Sometimes I'll do a mock setup. I will set everything up here in the office and break it all the way back down and take it with me. Next time I went to Ron Evans in the vault. Great episode. Ron Evans, great guy. Had him in focus. He gets up to take a drink, sits down, out of focus, gets up, take a drink, sits down, in focus, gets up one more time, remains out of focus probably 90% of the interview. I was in focus because I didn't move. That was just another challenge, another growing point. Very frustrating. John Rivers, Mr. John Rivers of Acura. You guys don't understand how grave of an opportunity that is to get somebody like Jonathan Rivers on this podcast twice. It's 2 years in a row. Camera goes out of focus on me. That's fine. We got John Rivers that stayed on him the whole time. But those little things, those are the little things that I keep beating myself over the head with, because quality, for me, it's got to be quality first. And for those of you who listen to this podcast instead of watch it, you never see those things. The only reason you know that even exists because I cry about it at the beginning of every episode when it doesn't go the way I want, because I just push myself. And it could be these cameras. I mean, they have focal settings. I've gone through them all. Tyler Patterson, when he was sitting in front of me in studio, he kind of taught me a few different things on these cameras, which helped a little bit. And I adjusted it since he adjusted it, because I was still searching for a certain look. But that in itself helped a little bit, helped significantly. But we'll see what 2026 holds. I don't feel like going out and buying new cameras. I have two. They're about $800 cameras. They're fine for this. But, you know, when you get out of the studio, at times you can struggle, or the equipment can struggle. Mobile lighting, that's a challenge. Mobile lighting. You know, I take these wands with me now. Actually, I have a wand right in front of me right here. Right? Look at this. Whoop. Look at this old lightsaber that I'm holding up. That's one of the lawns. That's one of the wands that I use now when I go remote. I set those up in front of people instead of these giant ones that I have in the studio, because they're kind of a pain in the ass. If you're here local, I'll take the big ones with me. But when I went to Albuquerque, I had to use the wands with Randy earlier this year. You didn't notice. I noticed. So, you know, 2025 was the year I just challenged myself to get better. You know, my cousin, every year she sends us a card now, a card stock, really hard thing, and it has a word on it. The word this year was better. What can I do to be better? What can I do to be a better person? What can I do to be a better husband? What can I do to make my podcast even better? You know, I just looked at the word earlier. It's in our restroom. It's in our bathroom, you know, in the master bedroom, but we have a desk in there, okay? But I looked down at it, better. It's right, better. So then what happens with 2026? Better, like I said earlier. The studio is going to look a little different. The intro to the podcast is going to look a little bit different. It's going to be better. You know, one of the things that I talk about every year is the guests. I always have these guests that I'm going to bring on, and then the timing just doesn't work out, or I never get the guests. But that just gives me 2026 to chase them down. One of my disappointments, though, this year that I experimented with was the Conspiracy Corner, and I only had 2 Conspiracy Corner segments. It's one of those deals where everybody's excited to do it. I even made shirts for it. Everyone's excited to do it. It's just so hard to get people to find the time to do it. I don't want to say that people want to do it, but then they don't want to do it. It's just hard to get people to find time to do it. So I'm going to break in with a conspiracy of my own. Do you guys believe in the simulation theory? I'm not entirely sure I believe in the simulation theory, but every once in a while, there's some weird shit that happens that makes you think. For instance, a lot of times when I look at the clock, it's 12:34. It is 1, 2, 3, 4. Always thought that was weird. I think I talked about that before. But according to, I don't know, I'm going to call it numerology. I don't know what it's called. But I have some good friends that are kind of into it. Well, my buddy Jeff's wife, Anna, is into it more than he is. But it means that you're on the right path. That's what that number very specifically means. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right path. And I look up and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, or 2, 3, 4. A lot. My wife will tell you it's because I'm always looking at the clock. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. I don't know if I am. I look at it a lot, but it's not like it's like, okay, it's 12. It's 12:33. Let me just look back in a minute. Oh, it's 12:35. Shit, I missed it. No, it's just the weirdest thing. But I guess where I'm going with that is the last 3 times I went to our storage facility, we have one across the street. The last 3 times there's been a car parked out. So here's the deal. You go in the gate. I'm sure many of you have been to storage facilities, maybe not all. You go in the gate and there's 2 main doors in the back, and each main door has enough parking for 2 vehicles, so people usually back their trucks up or their whatever, and you put in your code in the sliding door. And so these doors, there's 2 doors because one of them is going to be closer in proximity to your rented space than the other one, right? Logically, that's why there's 2 doors. Ours is the far door, or the near door if you come to the other entrance. But for the entrance that we consider the main entrance, because there's 2 entrances, our door is the furthest door. It's not unusual to see other people at the storage space battling for those parking spots or parking a little off. It's very common. But the last 3 times I've been there, up to and including today, there's a vehicle parked outside. Now there are, I have to say, thousands of storage. My storage is on the 2nd floor. It's in the 2000s is the number. The last 3 times I've been there, there's been a car parked outside and their storage space is within 4 or 5 spaces of mine. In fact, today when I went there, it was right across the way and they had all their stuff and they had to move their stuff out of the way so I can even get to mine, which was right by theirs. Thousands of storage spaces. 3 times in a row, it's someone near my storage. Now, I'm not talking down the way, like 12 lockers down. I'm talking within 5 of my own. Now, that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. When we're the only 2 in the building? Make it make sense. And finally, I'm trying to get my sister-in-law to watch Squid Game, the show, like the Netflix drama. Because now, so you guys know that, and I've worn it before here on the podcast, I was a Squid Game character number 130, which is my car, number 130, 350, sorry. But I was that for Halloween. I didn't know that at the time that Mr. Beast had started a Squid Game show. Like a game show, like Squid Game. I play a video game called Squid Game, or iOS game called Squid Game Unleashed. So I'm always playing it. That's my new thing. And what I love about that game is there's bots, but there's also other real people you're playing with, and you can't buy anything. Thank God Netflix gets it. Because most apps, you have to buy stuff, right? You want to buy fake money to unlock a skin or unlock a level. You can't buy. You have to earn every single coin in this game to unlock stuff, and it's cool. But they have a new challenge where they're like, hey, watch along with this thing that's on Netflix. I'm like, okay, well, I did the other one after watching the whole series of all 3 seasons of the Korean drama show Squid Game. That now they have one, and I'm starting to watch it because you could play along to unlock stuff. I'm like, what is this, season 2? It's a Squid Game show called Squid Game Challenge. And what it is, if you haven't seen it, is it's a bunch of people basically dressed like the Halloween costume I have with a Squid Game jumpsuit. And it's a reality survival TV show. And I'm looking at it and I'm seeing some of the stuff from the video game on there, and it's just, I'm not big on reality TV. There's a few I've seen. I want to say Outlast. Have I talked about Outlast, where they take people up in the Alaskan wilderness and they have team captains, and there's Alpha, Beta, Charlie, and Delta. So there's 4 teams, and you pick the team captains picks their teams, almost like pick up basketball. Like, I'll take you based on their skills. And long story short, the surviving team wins $1 million, right? And that's a really good one. Okay, that's the type of reality show I could watch. It's almost like Survivor. Right, get voted off the island type of deal, but I would say not the same drama, but it probably is the same drama. But I usually don't watch shit like that. So I'm watching this Squid Game challenge on my phone, and I'm like, this is stupid. Because what happens is you can't emulate the intensity of the TV show. Spoiler alert, on the TV show, you get kind of tricked into competing because you're a loser, essentially, or you owe a debt. And if you don't pass, you're dead. They kill you. There's season 1, they have a tug of war on this giant tower. So the losing team falls like 500 feet to their death. That's Squid Game. So I'm watching this thing on my phone, and I could watch on Netflix too. But anyway, Squid Game Challenge. And when they don't pass, they get hit with unless it's already in their chest, they get shot with like a black paintball is what it looks like. And they have to lay there and act like they're dead. And then the other players are like, oh, I can't believe Bobby was, I miss Bobby. He's the reason why we're here. And I'm looking at it, I'm just like, man, like, I guess it wouldn't suck so much to me if they didn't have to pretend like they were shot and dead. Just be out. The thing with Outlast, the survival game, is they have flare guns and you can flare out. And so the other teams look and they see a flare shot. Like, oh, where'd that flare come from? Would that come from Team Charlie? Oh, Team Charlie's down a player. We're going to win. We're going to win. You flare out. Or if you get sick, you can flare out. Or you can get voted off your team and you have 24 hours to get with another team. If they don't accept you, you flare out. Like, to me, that's a lot more drama and exciting than getting hit with a paintball and just laying there like you're dead. That's just dumb to me. First world problems. First world complaints. I know. All right, I'm actually going to do the official closing to this too. So if you like what you've watched, which why would you not? If you like what you've listened to, if for some reason this is your first time, consider subscribing on whatever platform you're listening to it, or if you're watching it on YouTube, hit subscribe. You become a member, which I think it's like buy me a coffee or something. You get access to, I would say you get access to episodes early, but I rarely have them early. In fact, I'm usually up to like 2 a.m. on Sunday, getting them ready for Monday. But if you really like this, consider doing it. And if you don't have to, because, first, I'll say this before I get on this list of people I'm thankful for. Many of you watch this show, this podcast. Many of you listen to this podcast. And for that, I thank you. You don't have to listen all the time or watch it all the time, but you know who you are. You're awesome. You motivate me to keep moving. You don't have to become a member. You don't have to become a Patreon. I'm not trying to shame you for not doing so. I'm just glad you're here. But what I will say is, let me just read this really quick. I haven't received a review in a long time on Apple either. So if you haven't gone to Apple, I don't think you have to have an account, but if you have an iPhone, find the podcast and go click write a review. Give me a 4, give me a 5. Don't give me a 2, don't give me a 3, don't give me a 1 star. But those reviews have to help. Been listening to Hard Parking for 5 years. This started in 2019. Guys, we're going on 7 years toward the middle of next year of 2026. So you can say, hey, I've been listening to this thing for years. This show is really good. Talks about everything. Everything. So do it. But with that being said, one thing, right Honda and right Toyota, SparkForge AI, brought to you by Arcus Foundry. One login, one platform, all under your control. AutoCannon, officially licensed Honda and Acura gear. Thank you so much. Can't forget Patreon business supporters. Automotive Specialty Tool of Owings Mills, Maryland. Koya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida. The Lucky Brakes Sports Brakes out of Caledonia, Michigan. Big House Small Home Design out of Ashburn, Virginia and Traverse City, Michigan. Shaping Success Treasure Valley out of Boise, Idaho. It's funny I have Automotive Specialty Tool in here twice. Special shout out to Mark Stoneman, Catherine Cox, Eddie Ramos, Richard Graves, Byron Jones, Bo Jung, Alex Camino, Drew Bunkley, and Drake Mullins. Email the show, hardparkingpodcast@gmail.com. Guys, you can also subscribe to me on Instagram, right, at hardparkingpod. But yeah, I want a special thank you. So this year, every year I buy my supporters, my financial supporters, a gift. I don't need the money, but when I see those supporters there, it helps push me to keep moving, because sometimes I just don't feel like doing a podcast. Every week, pretty much since January of 2021. Before that, it was every 2 weeks. But this year, I bought this really cool Hard Parking mug. You can see it's kind of like reverse negative, almost like a rubber stamp. And then on the back, it's got, 2025. But the supporters, it's got their names. Everyone who was eligible as a supporter received one. This includes, of course, Jane and Joe of Right Honda, Right Toyota, Arcus Foundry. Nate, thank you so much for giving me the platform and supporting me. And, of course, Michael and Dennis of Max Boost. And, well, I can't say Max Boost because they technically don't do this, but it is AutoCannon. So Dennis of AutoCannon and Michael, thank you so much for everything you guys have done for this show and the support. And again, thank you everybody else who's watched this, listened to this. And if you're still listening, thank you so much. I know you probably could have checked out like 10 minutes ago or somewhere in the ramble about the backyard, which at this point would have been about 30 minutes ago. But I will see you guys officially in January. Again, I don't know if I'm going to do, I know I'm not going to do another episode this year, but I don't know if I'm going to do a couple classic episodes. I guess when they pop, you'll see them. I'm going to try to pick something with video from earlier this year or something that I felt was some of the best that this podcast has done. Or maybe I will put one of the early episodes so people can see how far this podcast has gone. You tell me. If you're a Patreon, I don't want to hear from you. But if you're not a financial supporter of this show, tell me, do you want me to post something super old? Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll post something in the beginning. Some of those first episodes are rough, but anyway, I will catch you guys on the flip side. Have a Merry Christmas. Have a safe New Year. Go Texas. Texas versus Michigan in the Cheez-Its Bowl. I'm going to get me a nice bowl of white cheddar Cheez-Its. I lived in Michigan. I really like the Michigan Wolverines, but I love the Texas Longhorns. See you guys later. So I will catch you on the flip side.
Shut up!